Now I request the members kindly to stand up for Institute Anthem and Tamil Thai Vazhthu.
Asatu ma sadgamaya tamasu ma jyotirgamaya mrityurmamritangamaya
sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurmamritam gamaya
asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurmamritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராரும் மதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் மதிசிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறைநுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் வழக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறமையான செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே.
CMA Divya Abhishek Madam, the chairperson of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Southern India Regional Council, to light the traditional lamp. Before I request our chairperson, Southern India Regional Council, I would like to briefly introduce, and she is the youngest elected chairperson of the SIRC of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, which is a statutory body and an act of parliament for the year 23-24. In fact, she is the youngest CMA to achieve this milestone in the history of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India since its inception. And of all the three institutes, she is the youngest chairperson as well. And she is a consistent rank holder right from her school days. She is a commerce graduate with masters in financial management, and both her graduation and post-graduation are from the illustrious University of Madras. She is a graduate of law. She is a gold medalist there, a rank holder of both the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. She is an associate member of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. She has obtained certification in International Tax Law and Transfer Pricing from Leiden University. She has secured All India 4th rank in the Advanced Diploma in International Taxation ADIT conducted by the Chartered Institute of Taxation, COT UK, and has also completed Diploma in International Financial Reporting Standards from the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA, London. She has been elected to the SIRC of ICMA with a creditable margin for the term 23-27, and in the very first meeting, on the very first day, she was elected as the chairperson. Divya is passionate about women empowerment. That is very passionate about it, and has been elected as the youngest ever chairperson-elect of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry Ladies Organization, FICCI Flow, Chennai, for the year 23-24. She will be taking over as a president soon. And she has spearheaded the Committee for Women Empowerment for Hindustan Chamber of Commerce. She has been elected as a president of Women Empowerment Forum of India. The Andhra Chamber of Commerce has recognized Divya for her contribution for the financial sector and women empowerment by honoring her with an Excellence Award on the occasion of 95th Annual Day celebrations. And she holds various positions, and she is also committee member of the prestigious Shivnadar International School. She is executive committee member of Citizen Awareness Forum of India and youngest ever president of the Inner Wheel of Rotary Club of Madras Next Gen. She is a prolific speaker, addressed over 1,050 meetings. She has co-authored a book, Income Tax Ready Referencer, authored a book on corporate social responsibility, CSR, and authored the technical guide on social stock exchange for the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. She holds various positions in corporate and professional forums. She was the member of the National Committee of Corporate Laws, Corporate Governance, constituted by the Institute of Cost Accountants of India for the year 21-22 and 22-23. She is a co-opted member of the Corporate Laws Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the period of 6 years, from 2015 to 2022, and Committee on International Taxation for the year 2018-19. Divya has been appointed as the Women Independent Director, trustee of many companies and trust. She holds the unique distinction as the youngest women independent director ever to be appointed on the board of listed companies and nominated to the Grievance and Redressal Committee constituted for GST for Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, nominated by the Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission for formulation of syllabus for competitive examination. With this prelude, I have great pleasure in presenting before you the chairperson, CMA Divya Abhishek, and over to her for give a formal welcome address.
A very good evening to one and all present here. Respected members of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, professionals, industrialists, business leaders, faculties, and dear students. I am very proud to say that within just few hours of the interim budget that was spoken today by the Honorable Finance Minister, the Southern India Regional Council of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, in association with the All India Taxpayers Association, has organized this mega budget session. And we do it in a timely manner every year. And the reason being, when the budget comes out, there are several provisions. And let me tell you this, even through this interim budgets, there are few surprises that have come our way where it becomes imperative for us as individuals to understand the implications. And in a timely manner, because after the budget has come out, before these provisions and sections come into the Finance Act, there is a period of time, maybe 1 or 2 months, usually with effect from 1st April. So it gives us an opportunity, if we understand it quickly, to plan our taxes, to plan our finances very well. In fact, to give you an example, just 6 months ago, there were certain provisions of TCS, where 20% TCS was proposed to be deducted against any transfer you make abroad or any foreign expenses. Now, in a timely manner, we had another session where we imparted it quickly to the general public to understand these provisions, and many of them were able to make transfers by avoiding that tax. So similarly, I hope today's session is of immense value to each and every one of you. I extend a warm welcome to our renowned expert in direct taxation, CA Abhishek Murali. Thank you very much for being here with us today. I also extend a welcome to our Central Council member and the President of All India Taxpayers Association, Dr. CA Murali, our Regional Council member, Rajesh Sai Iyer. And once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. In fact, Several initiatives and reforms have been undertaken by our Honorable Prime Minister and our Finance Minister to make India a 7 trillion economy. So in that backdrop, we'll get started for today. A warm welcome to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam, for your welcome address. In fact, she mentioned by attending this budget meeting, what are all the areas, what precautions and pitfalls are there, how to guard yourself. In that connection, she mentioned about the last budget where they introduced the TCS of 23% for any remittances made by a resident Indian. So, what type of precautions we have to take, we also said. Earlier, what happened? The father or mother will give a settlement in favor of the son or the daughter. But we said, to avoid 23, suppose if it is a land, the entire proceeds to be invested, the entire consideration to be invested. If it is a property, house property, only the capital gains to be reinvested. There is no limit. Here what happens? You have to safeguard yourself, the entire consideration to be invested. But if they deduct 23% and you get only 77, the impossibility of compliance, how they will reinvest. So that provision itself you cannot be used. So if you ask for a lesser deduction, it will take a long time for the non-resident before execution, he has to go back to US. So what we said, when he comes for, don't execute sale deed, you execute a settlement deed. The sons or daughter will execute in favor of the father or mother, who is a resident. Thereby, you pay only 1%, cost to the previous owner will be there for calculations. So I will tell you the same thing when old scheme, new scheme was there last time, silently they introduced. The new scheme will be the default scheme, they said. What is the meaning? If you are a salaried person, if you have taken provision for 80C, so many deductions you already made, interest on housing loan you have done. Now, if you have given a declaration of this deduction to your employer, but you have not filed the return before 31st July, once the due date is over, automatically by default, you will come under the new scheme, you may not be able to take advantage, which we have said. So those of you who attended here would have filed the return in time because it has got a huge implications. Automatically it will take it as a new scheme, your deductions will not be taken into consideration by your employer. Many people will be receiving notices now. So this is the purpose of attending here. So that from the finance bill it becomes an act. This is an interim budget. This is a vote on account. But what is important is what is there. See, in the TV, whatever you see, based on the ideology of the person, he will give his opinion. But we will go class by class. This is a good one. This is a welcome. This is how you have to safeguard. Like that, we will go class by class. It will help you. Otherwise, whoever you are seeing, even in English channel, you see all the industrialists will be there. CIA will be there. FICCI will be there. So what happens? The deduction manufacturing companies, 15% has been given. 22% for all the companies. When we have studied CA and professional degrees, we have been told whatever the maximum marginal rate applicable to the individual should be the minimum rate for corporates. This is what we have done under the socialistic principles. But what is happening today? They say 15% we are giving so that animal instinct in you will be motivated. You will form new places, you will open, you will generate employment. But does not happen. You are getting so much, you are able to save. The corporates, big corporates, they are able to save. The money is retained. But whether it is definitely going for generation of employment to be seen. Now only the central government is spending for that infra from capex. But then the bigger corporates, the valuation increasing, reserves are increasing, the share index is going up, but whether it results in generation of employment, they prefer to use technology, artificial intelligence. Of course, natural intelligence also required. I have told you last time, a poultry farmer, illiterate poultry farmer, one corporation inspector visiting the poultry farm is asking him, what you are feeding the chicken, man? Sir, I am giving husk, grain, dhaniam ellam kudukren. Bird flu is sweeping the country, you are underfeeding the chicken, man, pay the fine of 1,000 rupee. The poor fellow paid 1,000 rupee. Next week another health inspector came, what you are feeding the chicken, man? Sir, I am giving badam, pista, crushed badam, dry fruits, grapes I am giving. You are overfeeding the chicken, man. The chicken will put on weight. extra calorie. Pay the fine of 1,000 rupee. The poor fellow paid 1,000 rupee. Next week, another inspector came. What you are feeding the chicken, man? This time he has become worldly wise. He said, sir, I am not feeding anything. Daily I am giving 50 rupee bata to every chicken. It goes to the market and buy whatever it wants actually. This is one is artificial intelligence, automatically what it generates. What you have 26 AS, AAS, all those things you are getting. Even the two farmers have been given a notice by the GST department. So what is important here is you must approach the entire subject with a broader outlook. So what people talking, what in TV talking, macro, micro issues are there, fine print to be seen. Here, luckily, we don't have much changes, but still, what is there? What is the existing one? What is new scheme? What is old scheme? What is the rate is there? You have to see, then only you can understand there is no change. It is there. So that way, this particular budget also, especially the provision will be, detailed by Mr. Abhishek, while he is covering the direct tax provisions. There is a very, very important one, very welcoming one, introduced by our Honorable Finance Minister to avoid litigation. There are so many cases in 1962 onwards, there are pending dues and all, people are getting notices and their refunds are continuous to be adjusted. This person does not know, the assessee does not know which year he has to pay the money. Simply they are adjusting. Filing cases. Otherwise, so we file appeal against which. So we have to spend money, everything we have to know what is the year. He gives instruction. Each year the demand relates. Now luckily it is a welcome measure has come in this interim budget. I have to appreciate our Finance Minister. I briefly introduce Mr. Abhishek and I request him to elaborate to touch about what are all provisions in the tax, what all exist, so that understand whether it is, what is the impact, how to plan, where the risk is there. That he will be highlighted. He is a practical chartered accountant in Chennai. He was the elected secretary of the SIRC year 2021. He was the president of the AITP also. Mr. Abhishek is assistant topper in his academic and secured a first rank in the CMTG examination and all in 17th rank in this final examination. He is the first elected council member in the SIRC. He was elected in succession 6 years, 1920. He is currently the Citizen Awareness Cafe and president of the most prestigious Rotary Club of Trust Next Gen. He is the president. Authored more than books of professional interest, including the Income Tax Ready Referencer, Taxation of Capital Gains, and Overview of Companies Act 2013, etc. The Prohibition of Benign Property, which has been released, received in the market. He has organized and spoken at more than 5,200 seminars, workshops, and conferences, and has been felicitated with the Gold Star Award for the same. He has received the Abraham Lincoln Excellence Award and for his excellence in the tax sector and laudable contribution of repute. He is a founding board member of the ARK Foundation. He is a non-academia member of the Board of Studies of Madras University. He is also teaching faculty in the direct taxation and auditing. He has been nominated by the Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, TNPSC, for formation of syllabus for competitive examination in the subjects of accountancy and cost accountancy in taxation. He is a member of the Committee for Implementation and Survey of Faceless Assessment Appeal, constituted by the Ministry of Finance, Government of India. With this prelude, I have great pleasure in presenting before you Mr. Abhishek Murali, and I request him to give a comprehensive analysis of Union Budget 2024. Over to Mr. Abhishek.
Very, very warm good afternoon to one and all present here, the chairperson of SIRC, the council members, central council and regional council members, various dignitaries, leading industrialists, leading architecturists, designers, various chartered accountants, professionals and students who are present here today. It's once again a pleasure to be back to present on the presented finance bill, and I should say this time it is an interim budget or what we call a vote on account. So expectations were tapered, but there were still some expectations. Because the 2019 budget was also an interim budget, we saw a lot of interesting changes, beneficial changes, which had come out in that budget. And we had similar expectations. Now, before I go on to talk about what specifically was introduced in this budget, I want to talk about some of the representations and expectations that we had. Because naturally, every year, we also make representations before the finance ministry. We submit what our wish list is, what our requests. And some of this, the first one, pertains to standard deduction. Last year, standard deduction was introduced to the new regime. Most people must be aware, we have an old tax regime and a new tax regime. When this was first introduced, there was a question asked in the post-conference, the post-budget presentation. How many people have adopted this new tax regime? They said, as per our calculations, more than 65% of the people have adopted it. So I said, when I was watching this, I found it funny. 60%. Because my experience is that only a handful, I could count in my fingers how many people that I knew went for the new tax regime. Luckily, the journalist who asked the question was equally wise, and they said, are you telling me that more than 1 in 2 people are adopting the new tax regime for individuals? Then the finance ministry officials looked at each other. They said, no, we are talking about corporates. I said, no, we are not asking about corporates, we are asking for individuals. How many people adopted the new tax regime? Then once again, they had some discussions, some whispering happened, and they said that data is not available now. So till today, 2 years later, I still don't have the data. So I still don't know officially how many people have adopted the new regime. So last budget, certain effective fruits were introduced to the new budget to make it more attractive. But how many people have still taken it, we don't know. But we had made a request that some fruits, they have to grow even in the old regime. Why don't neglect it? Give some benefits there also. And we had also requested for the capital gains to increase the exemption. Now you have up to 1 lakh rupees. Sale on equity shares is exempt in your capital gains. After that, it is taxed at 10%. So we had requested, given how the market is going, we talked about animal spirit and all. So far, the only person who's got this animal spirit is Ranveer Kapoor. So I don't think anybody else has got this animal spirit. We thought because of this animal spirit, markets are going up. Somebody will get the benefit. So 3 lakhs at least they can increase. Few people who are making profits will get the benefit. But so far, no such announcement has been made. We had also requested, as touched upon, the TCS. This is a 20% TCS on all your remittances outside the country. Very, very steep amount. That was also expected that maybe some relief will come. Make it 10%, make it 5%, something. 20%, imagine somebody is giving you money, you're saying, I need money urgently, please give me the money. Okay, I'll give you 100 rupees, but you get only 80 in hand. That 20 rupees, they'll say, next year you take it as a refund. So this seems a little unfair. So this was also something which, we had represented, and we were hoping changes will come. So let us finally come down to the current budget. The Alva ceremony was had a couple of days back. So how sweet is this budget? If I can have by vote in voice, how many think the budget is good? Good? Few hands. How many think the budget is excellent? No hand. Oh, one by one hand. How many think it's okay? Average budget. Lot of hands like this. But let us understand specifically how this budget is impactful. You see, there's a story. One wife is telling her husband, what happened to us? 10 years back, you used to carry me and take me to the fridge and we used to have ice cream together. Now we're not doing that. He says, no, we can still do that. But today it's easier for me to carry the fridge and bring it to you and then we can have it together. On a lighter note, I would say that this budget, or in the last 10 years, we were expecting firstly major changes as far as the slab rate is concerned. The tax slab rate. And you may have been following the news. Now these are just some of the articles that I've been taking, from websites and the newspapers. highest tax collections in the history of the country. 8 crore tax filers. The number of percentage of tax filers has gone up from 2% to 6%. It's a threefold jump. In fact, the Honorable Finance Minister also mentioned it has trebled like that she had told in the budget speech. So what is this impact? I thought, definitely, since now there are more tax filers, more taxpayers, and more tax collections, there should be some tax benefits given. But the Honorable Finance Minister made my life easy today, because normally by the time the budget is finished and presented, we have to make the PPT and come before 5 o'clock, ensure everything is intact. But all I had to do is change the year. From financial year 23, I made it financial year 24, because she had announced saying that there are no changes whatsoever in the tax slab rates. But I want to specifically talk about something that will impact. So ultimately, when we come to a seminar like this, what is our takeaway? Even though the tax rate hasn't changed, the tax date of 31st March is extremely critical this year. And the fact that the rates have not changed plays a very, very important role over here. Let me tell you why. Even yesterday, you can just play the video, because I think it's very, very relevant. Oh, I can play it? Okay.
தங்கச்சி உண்மையை சொல்றவங்க தெய்வத்துக்கு சமம் சொல்லுவாங்க. இவங்க ரெண்டு பேரும் மாறி மாறி உண்மையை சொல்றாங்க. இந்த ரெண்டு தெய்வத்துல ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு தெய்வத்துக்கு மாலையை போட்டு நீயே தேர்ந்தெடுத்துக்க தாய். போம்மா, தைரியமா போ.
Lighthouse would say, choosing between the old tax regime and the new tax regime is, I spent more time on this than the entire budget actually. So choosing between the old tax regime and the new tax regime is questions which are still asked. Yesterday I had a pre-budget session, today morning I had a pre-budget session. Every single place, questions come up between choosing between the old tax regime and the new tax regime. Now this is still the rates, or the comparison of the slabs between the old tax regime and the new tax regime. It appears on a basic prima facie viewing, the new tax regime is very, very attractive. But let us understand the more specifics as to, is it actually attractive or not? You see, there are certain caveats that are now important in this. When I choose a tax regime, I must remember now that the new tax regime has become the default regime. What does that mean? Let us first understand before that the tax rate. I had a lot of questions just before I entered. People were complaining, and in fact it was presented even in today's budget. This is, in fact, you can look below, the screenshot below is from today's budget presentation. This is what the Honorable Finance Minister was looking at when she was presenting it. The tax slab rate, or the tax rate for corporates, ranges between 15% for new manufacturing companies and 22% for other corporates. Whereas for persons who are individuals, they are paying a 30% tax rate plus surcharge plus super surcharge if they are getting the super rich slab. So their income ultimately gets taxed at around 36% or 37%. A corporate gets taxed at 15%. A tax differential of 22% between an individual and a company. I think in the history of India, we have never experienced such a big gap. In fact, historically, the corporate tax rates were never lower than the individual tax rates. Yet today we are in a scenario where there is a 22% differential. And this will drive people away from sole proprietorships. It puts the power in the hands of people who are corporates. How beneficial is it for people in smaller towns, mofussil areas, who has to do the same business, compete with the Hindustan Unilever or compete with the Ashok Leyland, etc. Is it feasible for them to do it when the tax differential between companies who are doing the same thing that they are doing is at 15%, while these people are paying 30%, 37% and all? So there is a huge gap over here that we thought will be bridged, but it's not. So therefore, your choice of the regime, how you're going to choose the regime, has even more importance over here. Now, the Honorable Finance Minister touched upon one thing today when she was presenting. She said in 2014, the basic exemption limit was 2.2 lakhs, and today we are increased it up to 7 lakh rupees. With all due respect, I must say that is not true. 7 lakh rupees, you would have seen this flashed in all the news, no need to pay tax up to 7 lakhs, no need to pay tax up to 7 lakhs. But it is not the basic limit. The basic limit still remains 2.5 lakhs. That has not changed. If you are the new regime, it is 3 lakh rupees. If you are the old regime, it is still 2.5 lakhs. You only have a rebate. A rebate means, point number 1, if I have income of 3 lakh rupees, do I have to file my returns? Yes. Even though I don't have to pay taxes, I have to file my returns. What if I have 6.5 lakh rupees? You don't have to pay tax, but you have to file your return. Your obligation to filing the return has not changed. Your obligation to ensure with the all and every compliances, TDS, TCS, etc. has not changed. You still have to do every single thing. The 2.5 lakhs basic limit, if it is below that, then you can close your eyes and forget it. But this misconception that 7 lakhs, you don't have to pay tax. You don't have to pay, but it's only if it's within 7 lakhs. The moment your income crosses 7 lakh rupees, 20% tax. That has not changed. That is still there. And it is 20% is taxed after 2.5 lakh rupees, not after 7 lakh rupees. Because that is not your basic exemption. Within 7 lakhs, tax free. 7 lakh one, then you will have to pay tax. It does not have what we used to call, the basic exemption limit is not been increased. So this is a comparison here between someone who is adopting the old regime against someone who is taking the new regime. Let's assume a like for like scenario. 2 persons, same income, same expenses they have. What is the likelihood of them choosing the new regime and old regime? If you look over here, the first scenario you may see, the standard deduction of 50,000 which is there in the old regime is now there even under the new regime. So that way they are equal. What about housing loan? Most middle class people, aspiring population, the first house they buy is likely for them to stay in. It is not to rent out. So if I have a house property and I am taking a loan to purchase a house property, which most people do, then I can take the interest on the borrowing as a deduction under section 24. But what the new regime says, if it is a self-occupied property, I am using it for my use, or my parents are staying, my relatives are staying, etc., or it is vacant, in each of these scenarios, you cannot take the benefit of 2 lakh rupees of the interest paid on the housing loan. You don't have the benefit. Only if you let it out, you have the benefit under the new regime. Whereas under the old regime, you can still take up to 2 lakh rupees. Then your ATC deduction, up to 1.5 lakh rupees you have ATC, PPF, PF, LIC, your insurance payment, principal repayment of a housing loan. Every single one of this is available to you under ATC up to 1.5 lakh rupees under the old regime. New regime doesn't have any deductions. 80D, Mediclaim. After COVID, medical premiums have shot up. They've gone somewhere today. Anyone takes an insurance premium, whatever age you may be, whether you are 25 or whether you are 65, your insurance premium with a reasonable coverage, let us assume a coverage of 5 to 6 lakh rupees. Because today you go to a hospital, bare minimum it takes you 1 to 2 lakhs. So with the 5 to 6 lakh rupees cover, if you take a medical premium, the cost of the premium comes a minimum of 20 to 25,000 even for younger people. So therefore, medical premium paid for either myself or for my parents, then in that case, under the old regime, I have factored here only 50,000 rupees. But if you have senior citizen parents, you can take 25,000 for yourself plus 50,000 for them. A total of 75,000 rupees you can take. If you have senior citizen parents and you haven't taken a mediclaim for them, even medical expenditure incurred for their welfare, for their treatment, also can be claimed up to 50,000 rupees. So 75,000 bare minimum, any person can claim. Suppose I am a senior citizen myself and I have a senior citizen father or mother, then in that case, I can take 50,000 for myself plus 50,000 for them, up to 1 lakh rupees. Up to 1 lakh rupees, that's the maximum limit under ATD. I can take up to 1 lakh rupees as a benefit claim under ATD. And I would presume in India, if you are a senior citizen, definitely you will have medical expenses. If you have a senior citizen parent also, 100% your medical expenses will definitely be within this realm. So therefore, an additional 1 lakh rupees which is available under the old regime is not there under the new regime. And while people can argue, housing loan I will not take, I don't have a house, I don't want to buy, salaried person, I don't want LTA, I don't want HRA, I don't want any of that. Nobody will argue against medical expenses and a medical premium, because I think every one of us will be taking that. So this medical insurance, if you are taking it under the new regime, forget it. You can take it, but you don't get any tax benefit from it. Whereas under the old regime, you can take up to 1 lakh rupees. National pension scheme, 50,000 I can put in national pension scheme under the old regime, not available under the new regime. Then 80 TTA, if I am not a senior citizen, then my interest on my savings bank account, up to 10,000 rupees, I can take the benefit for the interest I've received on my savings bank account. If I'm a senior citizen above the age of 60, I can take a benefit up to 50,000 rupees on all my interest. Post office, fixed deposit, savings bank, everything put together. Sir, how will we know? I always tell the story. I had a client of mine who was a very, very high-ranking official in a public sector bank. And when we were filing the returns, we used to ask, sir, please give the bank statements. Say, Abhishek, Abhishek. I said, sir, I have to put actual figure. You put 9,000 something. I said, what about the other accounts if you have anything? He said, it's okay, we'll see, it's not much. Figure will not be much, we'll see. Before the next year, I will close the accounts, etc. Now, there was no way of verifying. Even the department used to find it hard. But today, we have the AIS and TIS. Some of the videos which were playing before you came in, or before the program started, it was touched upon. The entire information is captured and provided in the AIS and TIS. You don't have to do anything. Earlier, when you filed your return of income, the income tax used to process based on what you are doing. If I have to file my income, I have to offer it to tax. Then they will assess based on what you have offered. Today, income tax is getting the information. Banks are giving. SEBI is giving. Your employer is giving. So many sources of information other than you. Your information is merely cross-checked, whether really you have been honest or not. So this assessee, who said that he has only one bank account, next year when he came, we have the AISTS, he has 6 bank accounts. 6 bank, he's saying 80 TTA, 10,000 you put something. His savings bank interest is 1,60,000. So, if you have 80 TTA, then 10,000 rupees benefit you get. If you are a senior citizen, up to 50,000, you don't have this under the new regime. So, like for like, X and Y, who is taking under old regime, who's taking under new regime. If he took the old regime over here, his tax payable would have been 0. But because he adopted the new regime, the tax payable is 45,000. 45,000. We told no, up to 7 lakh, no tax and all. You have to be under 7 lakhs. The moment you cross 1 rupee more, that's it, forget it. You have to pay the full tax on it. So on the same income, you can see over here, between old and new regime, who is benefited by it. But let me make things a little bit more simple. When is the old regime better? When is the new regime better? Can we make it an arithmetical calculation? I can make it an arithmetical calculation. If you have total deductions, your total deductions and exemptions, your HRA, LTA, allowances, Mediclaim, ATC, interest on housing loan, whatever it is, if your total deductions is less than 1.5 lakh rupees, close your eyes, choose the new tax regime. The new tax regime will always be beneficial for you. There is no calculation that you can do. There is no calculation even I can do that will make it seem like the old regime is better. If your total deductions is less than 1.5, go for the new regime, it is always better for you. This is just the details of the calculation that I have done, where under each head of income or each slab of income, if your deductions is less than 1.5, I have calculated. So you can see over here, in every single case, the new regime is better. What about when can I choose the old regime? Is there a calculation for that? There is a calculation for that also. So when my total deductions is more than 3.75 lakhs, the old regime will every single time be better. How can it be more than 3.75? Very simple. 1.5 lakhs ATC. Majority of you will have that. 80D, Mediclaim. I told you can go up to 1 lakh. Let us assume more conservative, it is only 50,000. So then you have 1,50,000 plus 50,000, 2 lakh rupees. National Pension Scheme. Anybody who invests in the market, who buys equity shares or equity mutual funds, etc., instead of putting under some equity mutual fund, you put it under NPS, you are getting additional 50,000 deduction for it. So that becomes 2.5 lakhs. Then, what if I take a housing loan? Bare minimum 2 lakh rupees interest you may be paying, even if it is lesser. It will easily cross this 3.75 lakh limit. It will go into 4 lakhs, 4.5 lakhs. And I have not even considered HRA for salaried people. I have not considered LTA. I have not considered various other allowances which are there. So therefore, this 3.75 lakhs limit is nothing. It's actually nothing. And if you benchmark it to inflation, I am telling you, this was introduced 2 years back, or last year, some of the changes which came in the budget. Within the next 2 years, unless more changes are brought about, this 3.75 lakhs will be nothing. Everyone will meet it. Every single salaried person will easily cross this 3.75 lakhs benefit that come to it. So this is once again the calculation I have done at each income level, showing that the old regime will always be beneficial the moment it crosses 3.75 lakh rupees. You can close your eyes and choose it. But if my deductions and exemptions that I am claiming is between 1.5 lakhs and 3.75. I told you less than 1.5, always new. More than 3.75, always old. But the moment it falls between this limit, that decision is there to be made, whether new regime or old regime. Now, this new regime or old regime for salaried persons or non-business assessees is a very simple decision. I'll tell you why. As of today, a salaried person can choose any regime of his choice every single year. So this year I can be old, next year I can be new. Once again I can go old, once again I can come back to new. There is no restriction saying you cannot do this, you should do this. I can change n number of times every year. I can flip and flop if I want. I can flip and flop every single year if I'm a salaried assessee. However, if I'm a business income, I have even 1 rupee of business income, then this flipping and flopping decision becomes only once in a lifetime. Only once in a lifetime I can change a regime and come back. After that, whatever is the default regime, I am stuck to that regime. I can never change. I can never change once again. So therefore, your flipping and flopping, if you have business income, restricted to once in a lifetime. So does that matter? Does that matter? The decision making, does that matter? It matters significantly. And I'll tell you why it matters. And in every discourse that I have seen, everywhere that I have seen, whether it is news channels, whether it is articles, whether it is discussions even with professionals, one very important factor is never touched upon, and that important factor is that young people who are doing business will likely be in trouble because of this. Let me tell you why. I'll give you an example. A person who is doing business at the age of, let's say, 24 or 25, he is in the early years of his business, likely either making a loss or a nominal profit. If he is lucky, he may be doing well. He now has to decide whether I am doing old regime or new regime. He compares the taxes and he does whatever applications we have discussed so far, all those tables. He goes through them, studies it very, very carefully, and he adopts, okay, This year, old regime is better, so I'm going for the old regime. The year after that, he finds that the new regime is better. He is now 26, 1 year older. And he says, okay, now I'm going for the new regime. It's better for me, lesser taxes. So he exercises his once in a lifetime option and goes to the new regime. What is the impact of this? Now, once in a lifetime, all that is very nice, blah, 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 blah. But what is the larger implication on this? The larger implication is, at that point of time, when he is 25 and 26, all that he is looking at is seeing what is the tax benefit. I'm getting 1,000 rupees benefit here in the new regime. I'm getting old, I'm having to pay an extra 1,000 rupees under the old regime. So I will go for the more beneficial regime. But sir, but madam, at the age of 25, he is not under pressure to take a life insurance policy. He doesn't have anyone to take. Maybe he's unmarried. Maybe his parents are still young. He doesn't have to worry about taking care of them. He doesn't have to worry about a mediclaim. So he doesn't have that expenditure. 3 years later, he is going to have a LIC policy or a life insurance policy. He is going to have a mediclaim. He is definitely going to think about buying a house sometime in his 30s, and he is going to take a borrowing for that. He is going to have to service the interest on that. Then he will claim HRA. He will have leave travel allowance because he may have to travel with the family. He is going to have every single expense. The ATC, the allowances for salaried people, the ATD, each and every one of these deductions has a huge purpose and meaning behind it. It is not something flippant. When someone says, you go for the new regime, whatever gains you are getting, it is lesser tax. That whatever money you are getting, you buy a TV, you buy a car. You can buy a TV, you can buy a car. But every allowance and every deduction is measured and available because every single person incurs it. Every single person will have the need for ATC some point in their life, and ATD some point in their life, ATE at some point in their life. So these are all expenses which everyone incurs, but not at a young age. So at a very young age, you are tempted by 1,000 rupee tax saving. I am getting 1,000 rupees benefit. Which fool will take the old regime? I'll adopt the new regime. I'll use my once in a lifetime. But then, it has a larger implication. 10 years later, you will become that example that we talked about, where you are incurring the same expenses, but you can't take the benefits because you have already utilized your once in a lifetime option. So this once in a lifetime has a very, very big implication. And what are all the exemptions, deductions not available? Again, this is something that I had to compile personally because I tried before the session to try and find a list of the deductions, and they cover some and not the others. So I sat through the act and I took out what deductions are available, what deductions are not available in the old and new regime. And this list is not small. I could cover maybe 10 or 11 items what I spoke so far. But you can see over here, there are almost 23 items which are there, exemptions and deductions available under the old regime but not available under the new regime. And it has, as I said, a large ramification. Now I'll tell you one more important thing. For people who adopt the new regime, now I got a lot of questions. This 31st December, in fact, our office was quite busy. I think it was a Sunday, if I'm not wrong, or a Saturday. It was a holiday or something. But we had a lot of clients coming in, calling in, sending a lot of details, a huge queue of people who came in. Now this challenge for us was largely because of something very, very interesting. And I'll tell you what. And each and every one of you are going to face it now. This session is extremely important because we are less than 2 months away from the end of the year. You would have already chosen your regime, and you have a choice now if you want to change it. I want to tell you why. Now, I showed in the previous slide, and the Honorable Central Council member also touched on this, that the new regime is now the default regime, which means, suppose I am filing my return of income, I have to voluntarily declare that I am choosing the old regime. So I have to file a separate form 10IE, saying I am going under the old regime. If I don't file that form, automatically your income will be assessed under the new regime only. Till this year, that was never done. Last year and all, the old regime was the default regime. Last year and all, the old regime was the default regime. So now, when the new regime has become the default regime, I'll tell you why this has an implication. You will have to declare to your employers, before the year ends, you will have to declare to your employers, what is the salary structure? I want HRA, I want LTA, I want this allowance, I want that allowance. All of this declaration, all the salaried persons are nodding because they would have given the declarations. Now when I structure my salary, I will say I am paying a rent, so I want HRA because I will get a tax benefit on that. I will say that I am traveling regularly with my family, so I want a LTA. So these are all common expenses I have. I will insist to my employer, you put that as part of my salary. Now, I told you 31st December we were busy. Let us assume, and this is a tendency among many clients, or even if they know return filing date is 31st of July, even though they have 3.5 months to come, they tend to come on 30th of July or 31st of July morning. And many professionals here experience that, feeling. Some clients are more brazen than that. They will call on 1st of August, sir, return file panna mudiyuma sir. Pannalam sir, penalty varum paraliya. It's okay. So people were willing to pay a penalty and file it little late. But now, if you file it late, you cannot take the benefits of the old regime because the new regime has become default. And if you want to take benefit of the alternative regime, you have to do so before the due date of filing return. So if I want to take the old regime, then I must ensure that my return of income is filed before 31st of July. Even a single day of delay means I lose all the benefits. Imagine this scenario. You have been paying interest in EMI you are paying for your housing loan. You have been paying life insurance. You have taken the Mediclaim. You are paying rent for your HRA, etc. All of these expenses for 12 months you have been incurring. You have to file your return of income on 31st July. You go on a holiday with your friends. You come back in the first week of August and you are remembering, oh, I missed filing my return of income. I want to file it now. What's going to happen? You can still file the return, but you've lost all the tax benefits, your HRA, your LTA, your ETC, your ETD, what you have incurred. Already you have incurred. There's a real outflow. There's a real outflow. You have incurred all of that, but you cannot claim it. You cannot claim it. So therefore, this year onwards, every single person who is filing under the old regime, and trust me, even though the numbers are not out, you can take my word for it as an experienced professional in this field, there is still going to be a significant large portion of the population who will still adopt for the old regime, who will still adopt the old regime because of all the factors we have discussed. So all of the persons who are taking the old regime will have to ensure they file their return of income by 31st July because the moment you miss one day, the next day gone, all your benefits are out. You will pay a higher tax also. Outflow also gone for these tax benefit schemes that you have taken. So therefore, filing a return of income has become an extremely important thing. The due date of filing is extremely important the moment you are taking the old regime. So these are all the key due dates. Most people are aware. If you are an individual, 31st of July. If you are someone who needs a tax audit to be done, it is 31st of October. Other companies, etc., 31st of October. And the last date for filing a return of income, even if you want to file it late, that is, you missed the 31st July date, you still want to file the return of income, you have time till 31st December, you can do it with a penalty, but you cannot take the benefits of the old regime. Those days are gone. You will have to compulsorily go under the new regime, even if you are willing to pay the penalty, for you have time till 31st of December. Sir, what if I miss 31st December due date also? You can still file your return. You have something called an updated return. But you have to pay a penalty between 25% of the tax payable if you are 1 year late, within 1 year, or 50% if you are 2 years late. What if I want to file after 2 years also? Then God save you. no scheme available. You'll have to go meet the commissioner and make a special petition, etc. So if you want to file more than 2 years late, better you go meet a professional and take his guidance. But this is the broad overview of the key dates every single person has to remember. Till now it was not important. Even as a professional I can say that it's okay, 1,000 rupees up to 5,000 rupees penalty, worth it. Suppose you miss the date also. But now the 31st July date becomes extremely important because it has huge tax ramifications on how you are planning before you file the return of income. Now let us come to, I would say, in today's budget, the only great introduction which was done, which is a relief for the demand raised. I'll tell you this. I have a client who is a person who is a HR professional, very, very nice person, and he has huge TDS actually. He does not need to pay tax, but because of his contracts, he has huge TDS. So every time we file with a refund. He'll get a huge refund. I'm talking 15 lakhs, 20 lakh rupees refund and all. And he has been getting his refund also properly every year. Without fail, he's getting the refund, no issues. Suddenly what happened last year? He was supposed to get a refund of some 3 lakh rupees. He says, Abhishek, I got only 60,000 rupees. I said, what happened? He says, I don't know. So I went and I checked. And the income tax has adjusted his refund against a old demand. What year demand? 2004. In 2023, they are adjusting against a 2004 demand. And I am shocked. I said, sir, did you get your refund last year? Last 6 years I have been getting refund, no problem. Full refund you have got? Yes, I have got full refund. Why this year suddenly they realized 2004 demand they have? You may have seen in the newspapers also. He is not the only person who is facing that. Lots of assessees are getting old demands. 2004, 2005, and I was actually shocked when the finance minister herself said there was a case where someone got an adjustment of his current year refund against a 1962 demand. 1962. One of my clients who was a very leading actor actually. He had a similar case when he went to the assessing officer. And we went to him and we said, sir, you have raised this very, very old demand. What is this demand for? You know, we'll take the action. Okay, we accept. We assume that the income tax is doing it correctly. But why you raised this demand? What is the order? Have you served the demand copy on me? Why you gave refunds so many years and suddenly this year you decided against it? What is the development? They said, Abhishek, you come next week. Next week you come, I will tell you. I said, okay. So I went again next week. I said, sir, what is the reason? Abhishek, you give me 1 more week's time. I am little busy. I said, okay, I come after 1 more week. Then he says, Abhishek, you see, I am just called for the files. I need 2 days. I said, sir, you're calling for the file. I'll wait here. No, you can't wait for 2 days, Abhishek. You go and you come back. I said, okay, come back after 2 days. Then he says, Abhishek, I want to tell you one thing. In confidence, I will tell you. I said, yes, sir, please tell me. See, actually, those papers are missing. Papers are missing. He said, do you have the papers? I said, if I have the papers, I am not going to be here, sir. It's not been served on me. What is this demand? That's what even I am asking you, Abhishek, what is this demand? I said, you and me are on the same boat. What should we do, you please say? Because client is telling me that his refunds are not coming. You are telling me you don't know why the demand is there. What is the remedy? So, really speaking, in many of these old years, the department does not even have the records. They don't have the records. It's not there. Someone somewhere noted on one file the amount, or someone somewhere passed an order in the system and forgot to update it. And there's no documents to prove it. They do not have the documents. It's a real scenario. If you have an order that is passed against you today, the department has to pass the order. It must be on their file. They must demonstrate that they served the order on you. I am making this much addition, so much tax you have to pay. All 3 of these conditions would not be satisfied for all these old demands. And let me tell you, the number of appeals we have filed, on this is N number, because in many cases it's a big amount. Now the one thing that was really beneficial announced in this budget is they said, for these old demands which are there, if your demands are 25,000 or below 25,000, And it was claimed, like in the scenario I told you, one is 1962, the other is 2004. If the amount of demand as per income tax records is less than 25,000, it will be waived. The income tax is ready to forego that demand. That means whatever they have adjusted, you will get back those refunds also. That is what it means. And there will be a process which will be initiated. And for demands which were raised between assessment year 10-11 to 14-15, up to 10,000 rupees. Is this a relief? Definitely a big relief. But there is some lack of clarity here. I'll tell you why. Because the moment this was announced, I said, what about those officers who had thought through, they have done some analysis and all, and they have decided tax has to be paid. There's no clarity here. What kind of orders, what kind of demands? It seems to be a blanket one. Anyone has tax payable under 25,000, forget it, you don't have to pay. So we have to wait some clarity on this, what kind of orders, every order, any demand, that will be great for me, I'll be very, very happy. Number two, when they say 25,000, what do they mean? Is that the quantum, is that the tax amount? Does that include interest? What about the interest that has been building from 1962 till today? That itself will run into several lakhs. I had one client who had a raid, it was a raid case actually in his case. He was raided in 1998. The tax demand as per the income tax authorities was 37 lakhs. 37 lakhs decided in 1998. Case was going on till last year. We were still fighting the case. Tax is 37 lakhs. Interest is 1.6 lakhs. So 1.6 crores. 37 lakhs is the tax demand. Interest is 1.6 crores in this case. Look at the differential. Interest has gone somewhere because of the lapse of time. So the interest itself in all of these cases for so many years will be huge. So therefore the question I asked, what is this figure? Is it including interest, etc.? The figure, and in fact, I was literally watching on my phone till I came onto the dais because the press conference was going on, the finance minister was doing, and somebody asked this question. And it was answered by, I think, the revenue secretary, who said the amount here is the tax demand plus the 234 ABC interest at that time. When they passed the order, on that date, whatever interest plus tax, if that is within 25,000 or 10,000, you can take the benefit. What about the interest all these years? That does not matter. The date the entry is made, whatever tax plus interest, that is what you will check against this 25,000. So here once again, I will appreciate this is definitely good, but it's not going to benefit huge people because whoever had this tax demand of 25 or 10,000, etc., they were willing to forego it. They said it's okay, let it get adjusted, no problem. Because the professional fees plus the lapse of time to handle this case over so many years may be more. So yes, it does benefit certain small taxpayers, but there are a lot of genuine people affected by the same problem who are not getting this benefit because it does not fall into these amounts. So there is a fundamental issue that remains to be addressed. I am happy that they are addressing a portion of it, but a lot of others still have yet to benefit by this change. And we are hoping that maybe by the main budget, they will find a solution for this. Startup plan. In fact, I have to be honest, this is another change they said. It is extended by 1 year. This slide I've had since 2017. I have not changed it. Every year I will change that year. In fact, what I started doing is I stopped putting the year. I just maintained extended by 1 year. For last 3 years, that also I have not had to change. So it's the same thing, they have extended it by 1 year. So they are trying to help startups, so that benefit is extended by 1 year. Capital gains. Now, we thought a lot of beneficial things will come in capital gains. But this budget, there's absolutely nothing which has come for capital gains. But I thought I will take this opportunity to explain to all of you one important tip. There is enough discussions right now behind the closed doors at the finance ministry level to rejig the capital gains exemptions and the tax rates. As I told you, the long-term capital gains on sale of shares is exempt up to 1 lakh rupees. Up to 1 lakh rupees, you don't have to pay tax. Beyond that, you have to pay at the rate of 10%. Now, this 1 lakh rupees, there is one proposal. It will get, I don't know. There is one proposal. Why have this 1 lakh at all? Let the entire thing be. So, and in general, people have capital gains. You have a exemption every single year. try to maximize the benefit of it. If you have the gains, the markets are doing very, very well. Not today, after the budget it has come down a little bit. In general, the market is doing very, very well. But if you have gains up to 1 lakh rupees tax free, it would be more financially of you to utilize 1 lakh gain every year. Whatever long-term gains you have, sell it and buy the same immediately also. No problem. You get a 1 lakh benefit, tax benefit which you cannot get otherwise. So utilize that tax benefit you have. And if you are strongly believing that, buy the share on the same day, same again retain. Once again it becomes long, sell it, that's all. So this is a great way for you to plan, because once that exemption of 1 lakh is gone, then you lost that 1 lakh exemption again. So I would highly recommend people to plan for capital. Little tips that really matter. Many people, you will not find this anywhere. It comes out of experience. Most of our clients, we advise them to follow it also. So 1 lakh rupees, get that tax-free exemption till at least the change comes to the capital gain structure. Restrictions to 54 and 54F. In my view, one of the worst amendments which came in the last budget, where you see capital gains has, as I showed you, multiple tax rates. And multiple budgets, almost every single budget you will see something relating to capital gains happen. Now we wanted benefits to come. We did not expect this. Where the Honorable Finance Minister last year announced, if you have capital gains, you can reinvest under 54 and 54F. But now, if you buy a property, you reinvest in a property that's worth rupees 10 crores or more, your exemption will be restricted to 10 crores only. You cannot take the benefit of more. I don't know why this was done. The purpose of 54 and 54F itself is to encourage people to sell their houses. Otherwise, people will hold on to it. They'll never dispose. So in order to encourage, they brought 54 and 54F. So when you bring a restriction like this, it has a large implication and ramification. So somebody asked me, why 10 crores, Abhishek? Really, I don't know. I don't know the logic. One thing I know, maybe like 1 or 2 weeks before the budget, Alia Bhatt sold her house for 12 crore rupees. And Ranbir Singh also sold his house for 13 crore rupees. So same people, same time they have sold. Maybe they are also reading the same articles I read in the newspaper. So whether on that basis they put this 10 crore amount, I don't know. Another important thing is children education allowance. Children education allowance is an exemption which is there. Does anybody know what is the amount? 100 rupees per child. Sir, which school does education for 100 rupees? Bus cost will be more than 100 rupees in a month. Forget the exemption. This 100 rupees has not changed from when I started studying CA. Last week I was speaking in Tirupur. I made the same comment. I said it hasn't changed since I started studying CA. One very senior member said it has not changed since I started studying CA also. So my fear with this 10 crore amount, this 10 crore limit, my fear is that like this children education allowance, it may not change. And I'll tell you why it has a ramification. Today, in Chennai, if you want to buy in the city one ground of land or property you want to buy, or even an apartment, reasonably sized apartment, the bare minimum cost you're incurring is 3 to 4 crore rupees. If you are buying it within the city, the heart of the city, then amount starts going up, 6 crores, 7 crores, etc. The same thing in Bombay. If I buy a 2-bedroom house somewhere in Churchgate or the heart of the city in Bombay, the cost of that is easily 8 crores and 9 crore rupees. The moment the size of the house starts going up, it crosses 10 crores. And that is today. Like our children education allowance, 3 years later, 10 crore remains 10 crore. But the cost of a 1-bedroom house in Bombay, Delhi will easily cross 10 crore rupees. Easily will cross. In the heart of the city, I'm saying. So therefore, my fear with this 10 crores seems like a big amount today. But believe me, if the markets are going the way they are and real estate is going the way it is, in a matter of few years, this 10 crores will become a, nothing amount. It will be, everyone will find that 10 crores will be applicable for them. So this 10 crores has a huge ramification unless the government is aware to it and they keep revising that amount upwards. But I have my doubts. I have a feeling it will become like children education allowance, where 20 years later I'll be presenting this budget and we'll say, hey, 10 crores that year it was introduced like that. So this is another major, gripe that I have, which has not yet been addressed. I hope it will be addressed, but we will wait and see. So I put a small checklist because I want some takeaway to be there. When you come to this seminar, you have 1.5 months. What are the key things that I would like you to do? First, before the year ends, plan your investments, your LIC, your PPF, etc. Ensure you make the payments, ensure you make the claims, and ensure that you have told your employer and you make the declarations to him, because you have to submit the documents to the employer, then only it will come in your Form 16. Otherwise, they will deduct at a higher tax rate. Second, prepare so that you file the return of income before 31st of July. Third, choose between new regime and old regime very diligently. Use whatever points we have covered today and make the choices. Capital gains, I already told you, make the sale up to 1 lakh rupees. If you have gains, take the benefit under the long-term relief. And if you have any reinvestments to be done, ensure you are doing the reinvestments before the due date of filing the return of income. PF ESI payments, MSME remittances, which is one really big issue. I don't have the time to cover that, but that is a huge concern. Where payments are made to MSME, you must ensure you make the payments within 45 days, otherwise you cannot claim that expense, forget it. Very unfair, because today if you do business, easily credit terms vary between 6 months to 9 months. For professionals itself, I think all the CAs here will know that if you tell your clients how much fees to be paid, most of the time when does the fee come? Next year when he comes for filing. He'll bring the documents, he'll bring the fees also that time. So when this is the credit term period of minimum 12 months in such scenarios for even professionals, to expect your payments to be made within 45 days, very, very unrealistic. Payments to this MSME. So now unfortunately that is the law, and it is coming into effect from 1st of April 2024, payments to MSMEs. So if you have any such payments, ensure you do it so that you don't fall under this category. And finally, who has to file the return of income? This is my last slide. Whether you have to file the return of income or not, 100% you have to. Because now, the laws have changed. Earlier, I told you the basic limit is 2.5 lakhs. If you cross 2.5 lakhs, you have to file the return of income. Today, even if you have income less than 2.5 lakhs, you have to file the return of income. How? Because the government have now introduced expense-based criteria. No longer is it income-based, it is expense-based. I'll tell you a small example, interesting story. How many of you have eaten sandwich at this Alsa Mall and all? A lot of the students there. Now, if you go there, you will have a minimum, crowd of 30 to 40 people standing there. Anytime I go, there will be a huge line. Similarly, many sandwich shops are there, where you'll have this huge crowd. The billing in a day, bare minimum will be 3 lakh rupees. Whether GST is applicable for them? Yes. Whether they have to file their return? Yes. Whether tax audit applicable? Easily tax audit also will be applicable to them. But whether they'll have a PAN number? No. Whether they'll have GST registration? No chance. They won't even have a rental agreement. But they are billing in a matter of crores of rupees. Yeah, they'll have expenses. Profits may be less, but their duty to file the return of income is still there. So now the government has done expense-based criteria to file the return of income. Now, if I have expenses, electricity bill of 1 lakh rupees or more, I have to file a return of income. I have foreign travel. You go to US, you go to UK, you go to Singapore, you put your photos. Whether your friends are like it or not, income tax will be liking it. They will put heart also. So, they are getting the information of your foreign travel. So, if you have foreign travel of 2 lakhs or more, you have to file the return of income even if your income is zero. Similarly, where TDS is there of 25,000 or more, where you have credits to bank account of rupees 50 lakhs or more. So, your credits is 50 lakhs. My debits is 51 lakhs. It's a loss making. Still, you have to file the return. So, therefore, gone are the days where it's an income tax return. It's also an expense-based return today. So, therefore, I would like to wrap my presentation by stating that today, if you have the question of doubt, do I have to file a return of income or not? I would advise err on the side of caution and file the return. Better you file the return. Because the government is going on a single-minded focus, which is tax compliance. There's a bus conductor or the train driver, and the train is crashed into the fields. And he is summoned by a panel. A panel is constituted, and the panel summons him to say what happened. So they conduct an investigation. So he said, there was a man who jumped in the middle of the tracks. So that is why the train got derailed. And the panel gets wild. They're saying, are you a fool? Why did you do that? Because of one person, you have put the life of so many people on risk. You should have just ran him over. Why didn't you run him over? Then the driver also gets angry. He starts shouting back. You think I'm a fool or what? I have been driving for 27 years. I tried running him over, but he ran into the fields. So I had to follow. So sometimes the objective may be lost. Government is trying to ensure they are keeping things on track. They want to keep fiscal prudence. So we can hope for the best and take advantage of all the tips that we have discussed today. Thank you very much for a very patient listening and giving me this opportunity. And over to the organizers.
Thank you very much. And in fact, the finance minister has completed her budget speech in 1 hour. But we were able to stretch it for 1.5 hours. That is the profession, actually. Because the devil lies in the details, they say. Still, details not come fully. And what are all he mentioned about the old demands to be withdrawn, the details not given. Being in the election year, what I have seen right from my practice days, student days, before the budget, normally, even last time also, the interim budget given by Piyush Goyal, who is a chartered accountant, he played with 87A up to 5 lakhs rebate. He said exemption up to 5 lakhs he mentioned at that time. So normally they will be bit liberal. But this time the government is also confident that it will come back. The opposition was totally silent in the entire budget. You can go and see in the night. Virtually, normally they will stall, even when they said we will come back to present a detailed budget in July, finance minister says, then also quiet. I never expected this actually, normally. I close my door and watch line by line actually. And even when the studios they call, I said, sorry sir, I have to be there. So, but then this is the type of thing. So naturally they thought, increasing the exemption limit or ATC or interest on borrowed thing, exemption limit, slabs, restructuring, all those things not required at all, and let it continue. So the July when it is presented, definitely capital gains, there will be a chance. And he mentioned, we didn't know the reason, when the people have booked huge profits in the share market, the reinvestment, what was done, and sometimes sharing is there 60-40 between the owner and the landowner and the builder. In fact, after the bill was there, 10 crores where they have put, even in our budget we have mentioned. This is the right time, before the act comes, you have to reinvest, we said, in the budget, to 400 crores flats with one kitchen, because that is a rule. And penthouses have been 400 crores, 500 crores before this 10 crores was implemented. You could have seen, especially in Bombay it happened. So why I am telling you, there are many people who are waiting not to not to sell the flats. They have done that at that time. Because the sale of shares, even the 10% they were reluctant, because they could save it by reinvesting here. So that was the scenario at that time. And he mentioned so many things. 80D, medical claim he mentioned. Medical claim, if you pay by cash, you are not entitled. You have to pay by check. The insurance company will accept your cash payment. But while filing the return, you are not entitled. Like that, many catch will be there. So simply, each one we have to go through, and then you have to take a decision. Dear friends, thank you very much for being. That's why the macro and micro I said. One person, very clean-shaven person was there. One person asked him, you seem to be clean-shaven. How many times you shave? I shave 100 times per day, sir. 100 times per day? Are you a fool? I am not a fool, sir. I am a barber. That is his profession, actually. This fellow talks about self-shaving. He talks about professional shaving. There is no consensus ad item. Any agreement, if you see, there should be consensus ad item. Both the parties should agree on the subject matter. This is what we have been taught in legal. And here, when you are seeing it, what is macro, what is micro? We try to focus on the micro, individual thing. Wherever you see a TV debate, they talk about big things. They talk about the math, they talk about the corporates. And they even today, when I was seeing, after the budget was prepared, on head of an institution, they are asking old scheme, new scheme. He talks about corporate is reply. So what is important is tax planning at the individual level. As the tax rates are more, corporate tax is less. This is the order of the day. So what we believe, All India Taxpayers Association, I am happy to say our membership strength has crossed 1 lakh. And most of them are middle class. Most of them are middle class, I am telling you. Although there are people from all strata will be there. So our idea is to create awareness. Awareness is very, very important, always I say. So my message is always to tell our educated people, you only form what you call opinion makers. So you must understand, you can tell to others, these opinion makers you are. So the cream of the society in the sense of what is what, that's why you have come. See, why we don't even live streaming, we don't do. The reason is, at least on that day, physically people should come and understand certain things. That is the reason why we are doing a physical meeting immediately, that awareness. So my message is that aware, beware, care. That's why we are doing, we are caring. Care, share, dare, be fair, because you are very rare. And as I told you, being educated masses, you have to see through the game. We cannot say everything is wrong, everything is right. So we have to see that, and the Pagutunarvu, that is very, very important. Give value addition to the society. A person who gives information is Adhyapak. A person who provides knowledge is Ubadhyaya. A person who imparts skill is Acharya. A person who gives insight is a Pandit. A person who gives foresight is a Drishta. A person who provides wisdom is Guru. My wish is that each and every one of you should become a Guru by providing wisdom not only to your friends, not only to your employers, not only to your colleagues, but to the society as a whole. This is what our idea. That's why you find the All India Taxpayers Association, educate, empower and excel. This is our slogan. Thank you very much. At a very, very short notice, 1 week, you come such large numbers. Last time Rani Sita Hall was there. More than 750 people, and outside we have put a big screen. And the police from Thanambed came. Sir, what you are doing? Already we got permission, sir, but you are blocking the entire traffic. That's why we shifted from there here, and with a valet parking of 15 drivers, so that they can park it in a smaller streets here in T Nagar. That is the reason why we have shifted. Thank you very much. And even here, we ran out of seats, where we have to provide a smaller room to telecast this. That shows the interest, where budget people are coming in such large numbers within 4 hours, that I really salute each and every one of you, and my thanks are there. And the background material support always will be available on request, and we wanted to do that. There is not much changes. Again, we are revising and giving, and I request Rajesh Iyer to provide a brief vote of thanks, followed by national anthem.
Thank you, Murali sir. Thank you, Divya madam and Abhishek, for giving a very good presentation. Thank one and all who have come in large numbers and graced the occasion. Please do come for all the other programs. We'll be sending you all the invite. Thanking you. We'll kindly raise for the national anthem.
भारत भाग्य विधाता
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा
द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा
विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना
उच्छल जलधि तरंग
तव शुभ नाम जाने तब शुभ आशीष मा गाहे तव जय गाथा
जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे
भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे